I spent 11 hours building a treehouse for my stepson. He set it on fire while his mother filmed, laughing. Let's see if the loser cries. I didn't say a word. Just walked away covered in ash. Today, they're both outside my office screaming through the glass, please. Just hear us out. I was still holding the ladder when the flames kissed the edge of the roof. 11 hours I'd spent on that treehouse. With my bad knee. With my sunburned neck. Cutting and measuring while my stepson pouted in the grass below like I was building a guillotine instead of a gift. I remember the smell of burning pine. The sound of his laugh. His mother's voice, half-drunk and scratchy, coaching him like some cheerleader from hell. Get the corner. He's still watching. Let's see if the loser cries. They filmed it. On her phone. I didn't say a word. Just stepped off the ladder, watched it all go up. Walked back into the house covered in ash. That was 4 days ago. They're outside my office right now, pounding on the glass. Begging. Please. Just hear us out. But I won't open the door. Because they still don't understand what they did. Or what's about to happen. Let me explain. The treehouse wasn't for the kid. Not really. It was for me. I built it with this idea, stupid. I know that maybe, just maybe, if I gave him something of mine, something I made with my hands, he'd stop looking at me like I was the hole where his real dad should be. He's 13. Mean in that quiet, precise way some kids are when they know how to hurt without using fists. His name is Caleb. I've known him since he was 7. Married his mother, Rachel, when he was 9. And it's been a slow, aching war ever since. At first, it was just subtle things. Leaving drawings of his dad on the fridge with real dad in bold letters. Telling his teachers I wasn't allowed to hug him. Locking the door when I brought him dinner. I tried. God, I tried. I took him fishing. He threw my tackle box into the lake. I got us matching football jerseys. He wiped dog shit on mine and laughed like it was a joke we were both in on. Rachel would shrug. He's grieving, she'd say. His dad died, remember? Give him time. That time stretched into years. And Rachel stopped pretending to notice. Maybe I should have left then. But I loved her. And I didn't want to be another man who gave up on the kid. His father passed away under tragic circumstances when Caleb was 5. The photos they keep of him are all lies, soft focus, golden hour smiles, nothing of the needle bruises or the restraining orders. So I stayed. I watched the kid ruin my food when he thought I wasn't looking. I cleaned up Rachel's wine bottles from under the sink. I went to work every day, paid the mortgage, mowed the lawn he refused to touch. I stayed. And then I got the idea for the treehouse. Something just for him. A surprise. A peace offering. I didn't tell Rachel. I wanted it to be mine. Just once. The day I started building, Caleb was in the living room playing some FPS and screaming at strangers online. Rachel was out with friends, her code for vodka and petty gossip with Lisa from Pilates. I set up the beams myself. Cut the joists in the garage. Hauled everything out back and worked until my hands cramped. 11 hours. I didn't even stop to eat. When it was done, just the frame, no paint yet, I stood under it and felt something I hadn't in months. Hope. That night, I heard them whispering in the hallway. Caleb's voice low and mocking. Rachel giggling like she was 17 again. The next day, it was ash. I walked out that morning, coffee in hand, and saw the smoke. Rushed to the backyard just in time to see Caleb douse the last corner with lighter fluid. Rachel stood behind him, phone up, recording. You really thought this would fix things, she said. Caleb turned to me, eyes glittering. Maybe next time you'll ask me what I want, loser. I stood there until it was gone. Then I walked inside. Took a shower. Drove to the office. Slept on the couch. Didn't speak to either of them for 3 days. They tried. At first. Rachel texted. I think we all got emotional. Then. You scared Caleb when you walked away like that. Then. Are you coming home or not? I stayed at work. Ate vending machine dinners. Told my assistant I had the flu. Then yesterday morning Rachel showed up at the building. Banged on the glass. Begged. Said Caleb was sorry. Said she was drunk. Said they didn't mean it. But that's the thing. They meant it. It was the most honest moment I've seen from either of them in years. And now that they see I'm not coming back, now they're scared. Because I've started talking. To people they forgot I knew. To Rachel's ex-boss, the one she used private photos of his wife to pressure him. To Caleb's school counselor who was very interested to hear about the funny videos he's been filming on that old GoPro Rachel gave him. To a friend of Caleb's father. The one who still has access to the trust fund. They forgot who I am. They forgot I was watching. And they forgot what happens when a man like me stops trying to be loved and starts getting even. I won't scream. I won't throw punches. I'll take everything they value. Slowly, methodically, and legally. Because I'm not the one locked outside anymore. They are. And the fire? That was just the start. Update 1. It started with the blinds. They hadn't moved in 3 days. My office is on the 2nd floor of a commercial strip. Next to a chiropractor who screams into Bluetooth headsets all day. The windows overlook the parking lot. I don't get foot traffic, which is perfect, because what I do doesn't need a storefront. I manage data migrations for mid-sized companies stuck between ancient databases and the cloud. It's boring, remote, and deeply private. That privacy let me watch Rachel and Caleb from the moment they arrived. They parked in the far corner. Same beat-up Kia Soul. Same crumpled fast food bags in the back seat. Caleb refused to get out at first. I saw the way Rachel tugged at his sleeve, hissed something through clenched teeth. Then they started pacing. They didn't go inside. They didn't knock on the office door again. They just waited. For hours. Blinds up. Sun baking their skin through the windshield. Caleb sprawled across the hood at one point like a sullen cat. Rachel chain-smoking and wiping her phone screen over and over, like she could refresh away what she did. I didn't go down. I watched. Every time the blinds twitched, Caleb flipped me off. I started documenting everything. Photo timestamps, call logs, the increasingly frantic voicemails from Rachel. All filed in a new folder on my server. Fallout_archive. Day 4, they stopped coming. Day 5, Rachel sent an email. Subject line, "Can we please talk?" I didn't open it. Instead, I visited a lawyer. His name's Frank. I helped his firm digitize their archives last year. We stayed in touch. He owed me a favor. I asked him 2 things. Could I protect myself legally from Caleb ever stepping foot on property I own again? Could I pursue full legal separation from Rachel without entering the house? Frank is a quiet man. Doesn't ask questions. Just took a long sip of his coffee and said, "It's doable, but you better be sure." I was sure. The next day, I filed paperwork. Official notice. No face-to-face needed. Rachel would be served at home. I didn't expect what came next. I thought she'd rage. Send walls of text. Call my family. Maybe even Caleb would try some petty revenge. Graffiti my office, trash my car. But instead, she went quiet. And then, less than 48 hours later, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, you don't know me, but I think we should talk. It's about Rachel." Attached was a photo of Rachel in bed with someone who was very much not me. It wasn't explicit, but it didn't need to be. You could tell by the angle, by the way her back arched, barely covered by sheets, by the way the other man's hand was half visible, curled possessively around her waist. I didn't feel shocked. I felt confirmation. This was her pattern. Sabotage, smile, seduce, repeat. But the sender? That's what interested me. Name Mark T. I stared at the name for a full minute before it clicked. Mark was the guy she dated before me. The one she always described as unhinged, obsessed, dangerous. Said he followed her around, begged her to take him back. Claimed he keyed her car, that she had to block him on everything. But the Mark in that photo didn't look like a stalker. He looked heartbroken. We met in a diner off Route 80, neutral ground. Mark showed up in a plain hoodie, baseball cap low over his face. He looked older than I expected. Not in age, just in weight. Like years of guilt had collapsed his spine. He started talking before I sat down. "She ruins people. I don't care what she told you. I was never dangerous. Never obsessed." She sent me the photo. Said she wanted to relive old times. A week later, she ghosted me. He pulled out a folder. Inside screenshots, texts, voice memos, photos, all from the past 2 months. She's been involved with multiple people. One of them may not be of legal age. I froze. "What do you mean?" Mark slid over a printout. A TikTok comment thread. A username I recognized, Caleb's. He was bragging. Not explicitly, but enough. Enough to connect the dots. She sends me pics. Says I'm her man now. Step this, step that. She's gross, but it's kinda hot. And then, the worst part, she calls me daddy sometimes. Which is hilarious. 'Cause I made her cry about him last week. There were replies. Other teens hyping him up. One asked for screenshots. Caleb posted them. Blurry. Quick. Just enough to identify Rachel by her tattoo. That's when I saw red. Not because she cheated. Not because of the lies. But because she brought Caleb into the fire with her. Because she twisted a broken boy into something worse. I told Mark I needed copies. Every file. Every message. He gave me a USB stick. Said burn her. Please. For both of us. I drove back to the office shaking. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I opened a new browser tab. Created a new email. Sent anonymous tips. To Caleb's school. CPS. The local police's cybercrime unit. Rachel's employer. Attached the screenshots. The TikToks. The images. I included everything. Because whatever shred of protection I tried to give that kid, she'd already ripped it away. And me? I was done protecting people who lit matches in my name. This morning I got an alert. The CPS case number was opened. The school replied with a vague, formal thank you. And Rachel? She finally called. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice shaky. Tired. He's being questioned. Caleb. At school. What did you do? Then, sobbing. Please. Please just talk to me. You don't know what they'll take from me. I didn't mean it. I was drunk. I didn't, he started it. And that's when I smiled. Because the worst thing for someone like Rachel isn't jail. It's losing the script. Losing control of the narrative. And now? Now she doesn't know what I'll do next. But I do. I know exactly what's coming. And I haven't even opened the second folder yet. Update 2. The second folder was labeled red_brick. Mark didn't explain the name when he handed it to me. Just said, you'll know when you see it. I'd shoved the USB into my laptop the night before but hadn't opened the folder. Not yet. Not until I had time. Space. Somewhere the sickness of it wouldn't stick to the walls. That moment came around 3 a.m. I was in the office. Alone. Rain painting vertical scars down the window panes. I'd stopped sleeping mostly. Couldn't turn off my brain long enough for rest. My body was still running, but in that low, humming way machines do when they're overheating and no one notices. I clicked open the folder. 37 files. Photos. Audio. PDFs. One video file named playtime_1.mp4. My hand actually hovered over the mouse before I clicked. The first image? A receipt. Dated last November. $440 spent at a place called Red Brick Therapy and Play Center. I'd never heard of it. The logo looked innocent enough at childish, almost. Crayon-colored blocks, fake whimsy. But the service listed below? Coded. Private behavioral session, 90 minutes. The receipt was signed by Rachel. And the patient? Caleb J. Okay. Kids need therapy. That much made sense. But the second receipt? 3 weeks later. Same center. Different note. Joint session parent observer W/feedback. And beneath that, barely legible in the scanned image, a scribbled note. Discussion around boundaries. Session escalated. Observer interfered. That word interfered hit like ice water. I opened the next file. A PDF. Mark's typed notes. Rachel began taking Caleb to Red Brick in October. Claimed he needed help with aggression and defiance. Sessions began normally, then she started requesting joint therapy. Not standard for the facility. A source inside said Rachel asked to record some sessions for personal evaluation. Said it was for her own therapy. Therapist reported her to administration. Claimed Rachel made inappropriate comments during exercises. Quoted as saying, he's finally learning what a real man looks like. I felt physically ill. Mark had managed to pull emails. Screenshots. A full copy of a formal complaint filed internally by a therapist who no longer worked there. The subject line read, Concern, potential emotional grooming by parent, confidential. Rachel had buried it. The complaint was forwarded once, then marked as resolved, client discontinued services. Caleb never went back. I played the audio file. It was crackly, recorded from what sounded like a phone in someone's pocket. Rachel's voice came through clear enough. She was laughing. Not loudly, but that kind of sharp, giddy laugh people do when they think they're winning. A man's voice, likely the therapist, tried to redirect Caleb's attention. Then Rachel cut in. Look at how serious he gets. Isn't he just like his father? Mrs. J, we've asked that you don't draw comparisons like that in front of him. Why? It's true. You said yourself he responds better to authority. I'm just reinforcing that. Besides, he needs to see what happens when he pushes a real man too far. The therapist's voice, that's not appropriate. Rachel again, oh please. You think I haven't had worse said to me? Boys like him grow up to be monsters unless you show them their place. Then Caleb. Quiet. So quiet I almost missed it. I hate when you talk like that. And Rachel snapped. Then maybe stop acting like him. Silence. Then the sound of someone standing. Papers rustling. The session ending early. I stopped the file. Stared at the wall. Rachel hadn't just poisoned him against me. She'd hollowed him out. And now he was just floating. A kid with no foundation. No compass. No warmth. Just rage and rot and her voice in his head telling him what men are supposed to be. That video file? Playtime_1.mp4? I clicked it. Security footage. Dull, fisheye lens view of what looked like a small classroom. Mats on the floor. Toys. A kid-sized table. Caleb sat cross-legged in the middle, fidgeting with Legos. Rachel off to the side, scrolling on her phone. The therapist tried to engage him. Asked about his day. Asked what made him angry. Then asked, what do you do when someone hurts you? Caleb didn't hesitate. You get them back. How? He smiled. Not sweet. Something else. You watch what they love. Then you break it. Bit by bit. The therapist paused. Where did you learn that? Caleb shrugged. Mom says it all the time. The clip cut out there. I sat in silence. because it all made sense now. The treehouse, the fire, the smile on his face. He wasn't acting alone. He was enacting a lesson, taught to him over years of whispered poison, weaponized praise, and a mother who'd rather raise a bomb than a boy. And I'd been trying to father him like that could save anything. I closed the laptop. That morning I drafted a report. I sent everything to Frank. Asked what could be done legally, about guardianship, about mandatory investigation, about ensuring neither of them had a chance to paint over this with fresh lies. Frank called an hour later. Said if even half of what I had was real, Rachel was in deep shit. Do you want to go nuclear? He asked. I didn't answer at first. I just stared at the blinking cursor of an email I hadn't sent yet. One addressed to Rachel's mother. A bitter woman with a frozen smile and an iron bank account. She hated me, but she hated scandal more. I typed 3 words. You should look. Attached. 1 image. The screenshot of Caleb's TikTok post. The one with the tattoo. Sent. Then I called the therapist who filed that complaint. Found her through LinkedIn. Offered a payment. She didn't want it. I'll testify for free, she said. I've been waiting for someone to care. And me? I've stopped waiting. Because I'm not looking to fix anything anymore. Now I'm just counting matches. And Rachel? She's standing in a house soaked in gasoline. Update 3. It didn't explode. It leaked. That's the thing no one tells you about exposure. It's not a detonation. It's a slow, sticky seep. Like sewage. Like blood through carpet. You only notice once your feet are already in it. Rachel broke first. Not to me, but to her mother. Apparently the email I sent wasn't the first hint. Grandma Dearest had been getting calls. From the school. From the bank. From one of her yoga friends whose niece worked CPS and thought she'd want a heads up. She cornered Rachel during brunch at one of those overpriced bistros with fake rustic chairs and $12 toast. Didn't scream. Didn't slap. Just slid her phone across the table and said, "What am I looking at, Rachel?" Rachel did what she always does. Denied. Deflected. Laughed. Said, "That's Caleb trolling. You know how kids are these days." But then she made her mistake. She blamed me. Said I doctored the screenshots. Said I was obsessed with ruining her. That I had a history of control. That I was jealous. That I couldn't handle being rejected. I wasn't there, obviously. But Grandma Dearest is a classic narcissist. Recognizes her own kind instantly. She went quiet. Didn't say a word. The next day, I got a call from a blocked number. Voicemail. Her voice. Sharp. No preamble. You want her gone? Name your terms. She can rot in a Motel 6 for all I care. But I'm not funding another scandal. Send me everything you have. Full access. No redactions. Do it by tonight or the checks stop clearing. I didn't send everything. Just enough. Just the photos. The receipts. The therapist complaint. Left Caleb's part out. Not to protect him, but to isolate her. A day later, Rachel's accounts went private. Her credit card stopped working. The rental she'd used while trying to give me space, gone. I got a final message from her that night. No subject. No body. Just a black heart emoji. I haven't heard from her since. But Caleb? That's where things get twisted. Because when she crumbled, he didn't mourn. He thrived. Like he'd been waiting for her to finally drop the leash. The school called me. Said Caleb had been suspended. Vandalism. He'd carved the word loser into another kid's locker. Posted a video of it. Tagged me in the caption. Like stepdad, like locker. Burn, bitch. I watched it 6 times. Not for the act. For the look in his eyes. There's this emptiness. Not rage. Not sadness. Just this pit. Like he'd traded grief for performance and didn't know how to turn it off. The principal asked me to come in. I said no. Told him I was no longer legally tied to him. That all concerns should be redirected to his biological family. His mother isn't answering, the secretary said. Not my problem, I replied. But it was. Because that night he came to my office. I didn't know at first. I was working late, trying to scrub the last traces of Rachel from my accounts, my emails, my tax returns. He must have snuck in when one of the other tenants left. I heard something behind the supply closet. Went to check. Found him sitting on the floor, covered in dust, eating a protein bar from the snack drawer like it was ration gold. He looked up, smirked. Miss me. I didn't speak. Just stared. He stood, dusted off his jeans, pulled something from his pocket. A flash drive. Tossed it to me. You're not the only one collecting dirt. I didn't move. He laughed. I filmed stuff. You think she didn't talk about you? I got videos. Recordings. Stuff you said when you thought I was asleep. Stuff she said after you left. I asked him why. He shrugged. Insurance. Then he said something I won't forget. You made me like this. Not her. You. With your treehouse and your sad little eyes. You kept pretending like I was broken. So I figured, why not be broken? I asked him what he wanted. He grinned. Power. Same thing you wanted. Then he walked out. Didn't wait for a response. Left the flash drive on my desk like it was a trophy. It took me 3 hours to open it. Half of it was garbage. Phone recordings. Secret audio of Rachel muttering drunk nonsense. A few dark jokes she'd never want public. But there were 2 files that mattered. One was video. Rachel. On the phone. Sitting in the bathroom. Talking to someone I couldn't identify. If he leaves, fine. I'll just cry. Make it his fault. Caleb already hates him. That's leverage. And if it all burns, so what? At least I got footage. Enough to twist if I need it. He's too quiet to fight back. Always has been. She laughs. Drains a wine glass. He thinks being decent gets you points. Nah. Just makes you an easier target. The other file? A note. Typed. From Caleb. To himself. If he dies, I'll say it was an accident. If they ask questions, I'll cry. They believe kids when they cry. I stopped breathing. Not metaphorically. Literally. Had to get up. Splash water on my face. Sit on the floor. Not because I thought he meant me, but because part of me wasn't sure he didn't. And that meant he was no longer a victim. Not just broken. Contagious. And me? I let him in. Fed him. Built for him. Tried to love him. Now I was staring at a 13-year-old kid fantasizing about hurting someone seriously. The cops wouldn't do anything. Not yet. But someone would. So I did what I swore I wouldn't. I called his biological grandfather. His real dad's dad. The one Rachel had called a dangerous redneck and childless for a reason. He picked up on the second ring. Didn't yell. Didn't flinch. Just said, took you long enough. I told him everything. And he laughed. A short, ugly thing. That boy's not gonna make it unless someone stops the rot. I've got a place. Out in the woods. No Wi-Fi. No bullshit. Just dirt, sweat, and rules. I asked if he was serious. He said, you want to give up on him or help him change? 'Cause if you want him dead, just keep letting him wander. I didn't answer. But I gave him the address. Told him Rachel was out of the picture. That CPS would be back any day. That if he wanted one last shot, this was it. He showed up this morning. Black truck. No plates. Boots that looked like they'd kicked more than gravel. Caleb didn't run. Didn't scream. Just looked at him, then at me. This is it. I nodded. He scoffed. Thought you'd do something dramatic. Do something extreme or whatever. I looked him dead in the eyes. You're not worth fire. He didn't speak after that. Just climbed into the truck. They drove off. No goodbye. No threats. Just dust. And me? I sat in the parking lot for an hour, staring at the spot where the treehouse used to be. Not mourning. Not angry. Just done. Because you can't fix a curse. You can only bury it somewhere it can't spread. Final update. I didn't hear anything for a month. No messages. No knocks. No court notices. No fire. Just silence. It was almost worse than the chaos. Rachel's account stayed dark. No updates. No cryptic quotes about healing or growth. No new photos. Like she'd folded inward and finally suffocated on the version of herself she couldn't maintain anymore. Part of me wanted closure. Proof. A headline. An obituary even. But what I got was worse. It was a letter. Typed. No return address. Just slid under my office door one Monday morning, tucked into a manila envelope with a single Polaroid photo. The photo came first. Rachel. Or what was left of her. She was sitting in a metal folding chair. Gray sweatpants. No makeup. Hands in her lap like she was waiting for a verdict. Behind her, a brick wall and a bulletin board with faded paper butterflies. A rehab center. I could tell by the lighting. By the way her face looked, not sick, not regretful. Just evacuated. Like she'd finally run out of mask to wear. The letter was short. I won't beg. I won't explain. You know who I am. Maybe you always did. I just thought you'd be too weak to stop me. I was wrong. I lost everything. And honestly, it still doesn't feel like enough. Maybe that's the worst part. They're watching me now. Nurses. Staff. Whatever. I pretend I'm healing. But really, I just stopped trying to pretend. Tell Caleb I'm sorry if you ever see him again. I know I influenced him and I know he resents it. I hope you don't. No signature. Just that. I didn't respond. Burned the letter in the alley behind the office. Watched the photo curl and blacken. She never really wanted forgiveness. Just acknowledgement. Just one last little needle under the skin. Caleb? I didn't see him until last week. I was driving upstate. Needed quiet. A weekend somewhere without emails or reminders. Thought I'd stop by a hiking trail I used to visit before everything fractured. It was early morning. Cold. I passed a small gas station off Route 9, run down, barely alive. And he was there. Outside. Leaning against the side of a truck. Same one. His grandfather's. But Caleb was different. Not cleaned up. Not fixed. Just still. He was holding a mug, wearing boots too big for his feet, staring at nothing like he was trying to memorize it. He saw me, didn't move, didn't smile, just nodded, once, and that was it. I kept driving, didn't stop, didn't wave, just let the past exist behind me exactly where it belonged. And here's what I've realized. There's no revenge that fixes what's been hollowed out. No fire that restores what was never real. You don't beat people like Rachel. You survive them. You outlive the version of yourself they built, the tired, apologetic shell that kept trying to earn a seat at a table made of glass and gasoline. I don't know who Caleb will become. Maybe he heals. Maybe he implodes. Maybe he walks deeper into the woods and never comes back. But he's not my son. Not anymore. And me? I bought a new place. Small. Out of the way. No attic. No treehouse. Just a patch of yard where nothing has to burn to mean something. Some nights, I still wake up to the smell of smoke. To the echo of his laugh. To Rachel's voice saying, let's see if the loser cries. But then I open my eyes. And remember the truth. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I walked. And they'll spend the rest of their lives replaying that moment. The day I stopped giving them a script to follow. And left them alone on a stage they set on fire themselves. Curtain down. Show over. No applause. Just ash.